Hey guys, tonight we begin not with ancient Athens or enchanted forests, but with something far more magical and chaotic. Falling in love at a roller disco in 1979, because, believe it or not, navigating romance under a disco ball with September by Earth, Wind and Fire playing was somehow even more complicated than swiping right at midnight. From love potions disguised as cocktails to feuding roller derby champions. This summer night in Venice Beach was less about fairy dust and more about platform shoes, family drama, and questionable decisions made under neon lights. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you retuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together back to the summer of '79, where Shakespeare meets disco, and magic still happens when the sun goes down. The summer of 1979 blazed hot over Venice Beach, California, where the Pacific Ocean kissed the sandy shoreline and palm trees swayed against skies painted in shades of orange and pink. The boardwalk thrummed with live street performers juggled fire, musicians strummed guitars, roller skaters glided past in rainbow tube socks and satin shorts. The air smelled of coconut suntan oil, hot dogs from corner vendors, and salt carried on the ocean breeze. This was a world of sunshine and freedom, where the remnants of the flower power generation mingled with the glittering excess of the disco age. At the heart of this vibrant chaos stood the legendary Stardust roller rink, a magnificent palace of mirrors and lights that opened its doors only when the sun dipped below the horizon. Its exterior gleamed with chrome and neon, a massive disco ball visible through the entrance, promising magic within. Every teenager and 20-something in Southern California dreamed of skating across its legendary wooden floor, beneath its rotating lights, to the pulse of Donna Summer and the Bee Gees. But this particular June evening, as the golden hour cast long shadows across the beach, the real story began not at the Stardust, but in the penthouse suite of the Marina del Rey Yacht Club, where Theodore Duke, local real estate mogod, and owner of half the boardwalk, prepared to celebrate his upcoming wedding. Theodore, a man in his late 40s with silver hair styled in perfect feathered waves, wore a white leisure suit with a navy blue shirt, unbuttoned just enough to reveal a gold chain. He stood on his balcony overlooking the marina, drink in hand, surveying his kingdom of sailboats and sunset. Beside him stood his bride-to-be, Paulina Chase, a stunning woman with long dark hair and an athletic build. She wore flowing palazzo pants and platform sandals. A former champion roller derby queen who had finally agreed to retire from the circuit and settle into respectable society. Their wedding was set for 4 days hence, on the summer solstice, and Theodore planned to make it the social event of the seasoner massive beach party, followed by an exclusive reception at the Stardust itself. Inside the penthouse, Theodore's daughter Helena moved nervously through the crowd of guests, her long blonde hair falling in feathered layers past her shoulders. She wore a halter-top sundress in pale yellow, and her platform sandals clicked against the tile floor as she searched for her best friend Hermia. Helena stood tall at 5'9", willowy and sun-kissed, but her blue eyes held a sadness that even the party's festive atmosphere couldn't disguise. She found Hermia on the terrace, standing apart from the others. Hermia was petite and fierce, barely 5'2", with dark curls that bounced around her face and fire in her brown eyes. She wore denim cut-off shorts and a tie-dye crop top, looking deeply uncomfortable in this world of wealth and expectation. Her father, Eugene, Theodore's business partner, stood nearby in conversation with other men in leisure suits. occasionally glancing at his daughter with a mixture of concern and frustration. "You can't keep avoiding him," Helena whispered, sidling up to her friend. "Your father's going to blow a gasket." Hermia gripped the terrace railing, knuckles white. "I don't care what Daddy wants. I'm not marrying Demetrius just because he's got money and a fancy car. I don't love him, Helena. I love Lysander." At the mention of that name, Helena's heart clenched. Lysander, the very sound of it made her chest ache with a longing she'd never spoken aloud to anyone, not even Hermia. Across the terrace, Demetrius held court with a group of admirers, tall, dark-haired, with a cocky smile and clothes that screamed new money. He wore a silk shirt unbuttoned to mid-chest, gold chains glinting, his bell-bottoms perfectly pressed. He was exactly the kind of man Eugene wanted for his daughter. Successful, ambitious, connected. "Where is Lysander tonight?" Helena asked quietly, though asking felt like pressing on a bruise. "Working his shift at the surf shop," Hermia said. "Where he always is. Working honest hours for honest pay, which apparently makes him unsuitable in my father's eyes." Her voice dripped with bitterness. "Demetrius owns 3 head shops and a record store, but Lysander teaches kids to surf and repairs boards, so he's not good enough." Helena said nothing. She couldn't, because the truth was that she loved Demetrius with the same desperate intensity that Hermia loved Lysander, and it was tearing her apart. Once, not 6 months ago, Demetrius had loved her back. They'd spent every evening skating at the Stardust together, had shared strawberry daiquiris at the beach bars, had kissed under the pier while the waves crashed beneath them. Then Hermia had walked into his record store one afternoon, and everything changed. Demetrius pursued Hermia with single-minded obsession, blind to everything else, including Helena's breaking heart. Eugene called out across the terrace, his voice booming over the sounds of earth, wind and fire playing through the penthouse speakers. "Hermia, come here, sweetheart. Demetrius wants to talk to you about the wedding rehearsal dinner." Hermia's jaw set in a stubborn line that Helena knew all too well. "I'm not going," she hissed under her breath. Then, louder, to her father, "I have a headache. Daddy, I think I need some air." "You're standing outside," Eugene pointed out, his patience clearly wearing thin. His polyester suit jacket stretched across his shoulders as he gestured emphatically. "Now get over here and stop embarrassing me in front of our guests." Theodore Duke joined his business partner, placing a hand on Eugene's shoulder. Now, let's not make a scene. The girls probably just got pre-wedding jitters. It's a big step, marrying a successful man like Demetrius." He smiled indulgently at Hermia. "Why, when Paulina agreed to marry me, she was nervous for weeks. Isn't that right, darling?" Paulina appeared beside him, her expression unreadable behind large sunglasses. "That's not exactly how I remember it, Theodore." The tension crackled in the air like static electricity. Demetrius, sensing opportunity, glided across the terrace toward Hermia with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. "Hey babe," he said, reaching for her hand. "Your old man's right. We should talk about the dinner. I was thinking we could have it at Chez Nusriel, classy place. Candlelight, champagne, the works." Hermia jerked her hand away. "I've told you 100 times, Demetrius. I'm not marrying you. I don't want champagne dinners. I don't want any of this." "Come on, don't be like that," Demetrius said, his smile never wavering though his eyes hardened. "You're just playing hard to get. I dig it. You've got spirit. But your father and I have an understanding, and an understanding." Hermia's voice rose sharply. "About what? About selling me like I'm some piece of property? Like one of Daddy's beachfront lots?" Eugene's face flushed red. Hermia Duke, you watch your mouth. Demetrius is a good man from a good family. He can provide for you, give you the life you deserve. The life you think I deserve. Hermia shot back. What about what I want, what you want? Eugene laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to run around with that surf bum, Lysander? That long-haired nobody who smells like board wax and ocean water? He's got nothing, Hermia. No prospects, no future. You marry him, you'll be living in some run-down beach shack, pregnant before you're 21, struggling to make rent. Helena watched the scene unfold with a sick feeling in her stomach. She wanted to speak up, to defend her friend's right to choose her own path, but the words stuck in her throat. Because part of her, a small, shameful part, she hated, hoped that if Hermia rejected Demetrius firmly enough, maybe he would finally see Helena again. Maybe he would remember what they'd had. I'd rather live in a beach shack with someone I love than a mansion with someone I do, and Hermia declared, her voice shaking with emotion. And you can't make me marry him. This is 1979, not the Dark Ages. Women have rights now. We have choices. Theodore Duke stepped forward, his voice taking on a harder edge. Now you listen here, young lady. Your father has worked his whole life to give you opportunities. The least you can do is show some gratitude and some sense. In 4 days, on the summer solstice, you will marry Demetrius. That's final. And if I refuse? The question hung in the air like smoke. Eugene's face contorted with anger and hurt. Then you're no daughter of mine. You'll be cut off. No money, no apartment, no college tuition. You want to be independent. Fine. Let's see how you like it out there on your own. Hermia stood her ground, though Helena could see her trembling. Fine, she said quietly. Then I guess I'm on my own. She turned and pushed through the crowd, leaving stunned silence in her wake. Helena hesitated only a moment before following, her heart pounding. Behind them, she heard Demetrius say to Eugene, "Don't worry, sir. She'll come around. They always do. I'll go talk to her, smooth things over." "No," Helena heard herself say, turning back. "Let me. I'm her best friend. She listened to me." Demetrius's eyes finally focused on Helena, really seeing her for the first time in months. But there was no recognition of what they'd once been to each other, only irritation. "Fine. Tell her she's being ridiculous. Tell her I'm the best thing that ever happened to her." Helena fled before the tears could come, racing down the penthouse stairs after Hermia. Helena found Hermia 2 blocks away, sitting on the seawall overlooking the beach, her face buried in her hands. The sun had nearly set now, painting the sky in brilliant streaks of purple and crimson. Down on the sand, a few couples walked hand in hand, and the distant sound of someone playing a saxophone drifted on the breeze. "I can't do it, Helena," Hermia sobbed as her friend sat beside her. "I can't marry him. I'd rather die." "Don't talk like that," Helena said softly, putting her arm around Hermia's shaking shoulders. "There has to be another way. There isn't." Hermia wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, mascara streaking her cheeks. "You heard my father. If I don't marry Demetrius, I lose everything. And even if I don't care about the money, how am I supposed to survive? I've never worked a day in my life. I've got no skills." "No, you've got Lysander," Helena interrupted gently. "And he loves you. Really loves you." Hermia looked up, her eyes red-rimmed but suddenly focused. "We're leaving," she said quietly. "Tonight. Lysander has an aunt who lives up in San Francisco. She runs a record store in Haight-Ashbury. She said we could stay with her, that Lysander could work in the store and I could learn the business. We were going to wait until after my father calmed down, but—" she laughed bitterly. "I guess there's no point waiting now." Helena's heart sank. Her best friend was leaving. Tonight. But how? "Meet me at the Stardust at midnight," Hermia said, gripping Helena's hands. "Lysander gets off work at 11. We're packing light and taking his van. We'll be in San Francisco by morning. But I need to see you one more time before I go. I need to say goodbye properly. The Stardust." Helena's voice came out as a whisper. "The legendary roller rink, where magic supposedly happened, where dreams came true under the spinning lights. Or so the stories said. Please, Helena, you're my best friend. My only real friend. Everyone else just sees Eugene's daughter, the girl with the trust fund. You're the only one who's ever seen me." Hermia's eyes pleaded. "Promise me you'll come, I promise," Helena heard herself say, though every word felt like swallowing glass. They embraced, and Helena breathed in the familiar scent of Hermia's love's baby soft perfume, committing it to memory. When they finally pulled apart, Hermia was smiling through her tears. "Everything's going to be okay," Hermia said. "I can feel it. Once I'm away from here, once Lysander and I can start fresh, it'll all work out. And you'll come visit us, right? You'll come to San Francisco." Of course, Helena lied, because how could she explain that watching Hermia and Lysander together was like pressing on an open wound? She loved them both, Hermia as a sister, Lysander as, well, as something she could never have and had never admitted wanting until it was too late. As Hermia disappeared into the gathering dusk, Helena sat alone on the seawall, watching the waves crash against the shore. Her mind raced. Hermia was leaving, running away with Lysander, which meant Demetrius would be devastated, humiliated, angry, and maybe, just maybe, if Helena was the one to tell him, if she helped him find them, if she showed him that she was loyal and true, maybe he would finally see her again. Maybe he would remember what they had and realize that she was the one who truly loved him, not Hermia, who ran away at the first sign of trouble. It was a terrible thought, a betrayal of friendship, and Helena hated herself even as the plan formed in her mind. But love made people do desperate things, and Helena was desperate. As darkness fell completely over Venice Beach, Helena made her decision. She would go to Demetrius. She would tell him about Hermia's plan, and she would pray that somehow, some way, it would lead him back to her. Meanwhile, several blocks inland in a cramped apartment above a pizza parlor, 6 men crowded around a battered coffee table covered in papers, beer cans, and an overflowing ashtray. These were the mechanical's working-class dreamers who called themselves filmmakers, though none of them had ever completed a full movie. Peter Quince, a middle-aged man with thinning hair and thick glasses, spread out a hand-drawn storyboard. "All right, guys, listen up. We've finally got our big break. Theodore Duke is throwing this massive solstice beach party, right? And he's looking for entertainment. I told him we could shoot a live film, project it on a big screen, give everyone some culture." "What's the film?" asked Nick Bottom, a burly construction worker with a mustache that drooped past his chin. He wore a tank top that declared "Disco sucks" and had a beer perpetually in hand. "Pyramus and Thisbe," Quince announced proudly. "A tragic love story. Very classy, very artistic." The others groaned, but Bottom's eyes lit up. "I'll play Pyramus, the romantic lead. I can do tragedy. Watch Oh Cruel Fate to part me from my love." He clutched his chest dramatically, nearly knocking over several beer cans. This was Venice Beach in the summer of 1709, where magic and madness lived side by side, where dreams glittered like disco balls, and where 4 young lovers were about to stumble into a night that would change everything. The Stardust roller rink came alive at exactly 9 o'clock, just as it did every night when the neon sign flickered to life and the doors swung open to reveal a wonderland of mirrors, lights, and polished wooden floors that seemed to glow from within. The building itself was an Art Deco masterpiece from the 1920s, originally a silent film palace, now transformed into the most legendary roller rink on the entire West Coast. Inside, the ceiling soared 30 feet high, covered in mirrors that reflected infinite versions of the massive disco ball spinning at the center. Colored lights, red, blue, purple, gold, swept across the floor in hypnotic patterns. The DJ booth rose like a throne at the far end, surrounded by speakers that could make the whole building vibrate with bass. Around the rink's perimeter, booths upholstered in red velvet offered refuge for those who needed to catch their breath, while a snack bar served up nachos, pretzels, and the legendary Stardust Special, a frozen drink that glowed electric blue under the black lights. But the true magic of the Stardust wasn't the decor or the drinks. It was the people who ruled it. Oberon King stood in the DJ booth, his dark skin gleaming under the lights. An enormous afro, perfectly picked out, wearing a silver jumpsuit that caught every beam of light and threw it back tenfold. He was the undisputed king of the Stardust, the former roller derby champion who won 5 consecutive Golden Wheel trophies before retiring to run the rink. His hands moved across the turntables with the precision of a surgeon and the passion of an artist, mixing Diana Ross into Chic, into Casey and the Sunshine Band so seamlessly that the dancers never stopped moving. Tonight, however, Oberon's usually smooth expression was creased with anger, because across the rink, holding court in the largest corner booth, sat his wife Titania Queen. Titania was magnificent, 6 feet tall on skates, with copper-colored skin and hair braided into elaborate patterns woven with gold thread and beads. She wore a white halter jumpsuit with bell-bottoms so wide they looked like wings when she spun. She'd been the women's roller derby champion, the knockout queen of the Bay Area Bombers, and she'd given it all up when she married Oberon and they bought the Stardust together 5 years ago. But lately, the king and queen of the Stardust had been at war. Surrounding Titania were her crew, a dozen of the best skaters in Southern California, young people who treated her like royalty and the Stardust like their kingdom. They wore satin jackets with Titania's train embroidered on the back in flowing script. Among them was a teenage kid named Ricky, barely 16, a roller skating prodigy who could do moves nobody else had even dreamed of. Ricky had shown up at the Stardust 6 months ago, a runaway from somewhere in the Midwest, and Titania had taken him under her wing, given him a job, a place to crash, and training that had transformed him from talented to extraordinary. Oberon wanted Ricky on his exhibition team, the group that performed at competitions and special events, but Titania refused to let him go. From the DJ booth, Oberon watched his wife laugh with her followers, watched her lace up Ricky's skates like he was her own child, and felt rage simmer in his chest. He scratched a record deliberately, creating a jarring screech that made everyone on the floor wince and look up. Beside him in the booth, Robin Goodfellow, known to everyone as Puck, grinned wickedly. Puck was 19, lean and wiry, with shaggy hair dyed platinum blonde and eyeliner that would make David Bowie jealous. He wore leopard print shorts, a mesh tank top, and skates with wheels that light up in rainbow colors as they spun. Puck was Oberon's protege, his right-hand man, the fastest skater in the rink and the most mischievous troublemaker Venice Beach had ever produced. "Ooh, boss is mad tonight," Puck said, popping bubblegum. "What did the queen do this time?" "The same thing she does every night," Oberon growled, queuing up the next record with more force than necessary. "Parades that kid around like he's some kind of prince. I built this rink. I made it legendary. and she acts like she owns the place. Well, technically, she does own half of it, Puck pointed out, then ducked as Oberon shot him a withering look. Just saying, man. Community, property, and all that. I don't need legal advice from a teenager who lives in a van, Oberon snapped. But his anger wasn't really directed at Puck. It was directed at the situation, at the distance that had grown between him and Titania, at the way their kingdom had split into two courts that barely spoke to each other. It had started small disagreements about which bands to book, whose friends could skate for free, how late to keep the rink open. But it had grown into something bigger, something that felt like it might tear the Stardust apart from the inside, and the fight over Ricky had become the symbol of everything else they couldn't agree on. I've got a mind to teach her a lesson, Oberon muttered, watching Titania spin gracefully onto the floor, Ricky following in her wake like a devoted satellite. They moved in perfect synchronization, executing a complicated routine they'd obviously been practicing. The crowd on the floor parted to watch, applauding. Puck's eyes glittered with mischief. What kind of lesson? The kind that reminds her who's really in charge around here. Oberon's jaw set in a determined line. You've still got that stuff. The Valentine's special. Puck's grin widened. Oh, boss. You're not thinking what I think you're thinking. I'm thinking exactly that. The Valentine's special was legend among the Stardust regulars. A small vial of liquid that Puck had acquired from a mysterious chemist who operated out of a head shop on the boardwalker grey-bearded mystic who claimed to have studied with Timothy Leary himself. The liquid was supposedly derived from some rare flower that only bloomed under the full moon, mixed with who knows what substances that existed in the hazy space between legal and illegal in 1979 California. The effect, according to those who'd experienced it, was simple and profound. You'd fall instantly, overwhelmingly in love with the first person you saw after it touched your lips. The sensation lasted anywhere from a few hours to a full night, intense and all-consuming before wearing off with the sunrise. Some people swore it was just a placebo. The power of suggestion combined with alcohol and the intoxicating atmosphere of the Stardust. Others insisted it was real magic, the kind that still existed in the world if you knew where to look for it. Puck had used it exactly 3 times, always on willing participants looking for adventure, and the results had been spectacular. Straight-laced accountant had spent an entire night serenading a potted plant. A pair of rival gang members had become inseparable best friends, and one girl had fallen so deeply in love with her own reflection that security had to pry her away from the mirror-covered walls. You want to use it on Titania? Puck asked, keeping his voice low even though the music was loud enough to cover their conversation. That's playing with fire, boss. Not on Titania, Oberon corrected, his eyes still tracking his wife as she glided across the floor. On Ricky, let the kid fall head over heels for some random person, someone totally unsuitable, someone who'll keep him busy and distracted. Then maybe Titania will realize he's just a foolish teenager and let him go. Puck considered this, his wheels spinning idly. You're devious, man. I respect that, but what if it backfires? How could it backfire? By tomorrow morning it'll wear off. The kid will have learned a valuable lesson about infatuation versus real feeling, and Titania will see that she can't control everything. Oberon selected a record Sylvester's You, Make Me Feel Mighty Real, and dropped the needle. Besides, you said you wanted some excitement tonight. I always want excitement, Puck agreed, pulling the small vial from a hidden pocket in his shorts. The liquid inside glowed faintly purple, like something from a science fiction movie. When do you want to do this? Wait until Ricky takes a break. He always gets a Stardust special around 10. slip it in his drink. Oberon paused, then added, and Puck. Make sure the first person he sees is someone really inappropriate. Someone that'll drive Titania crazy. Puck saluted mockingly and skated off, weaving through the crowd with preternatural grace, leaving trails of rainbow light from his wheels. The rink was filling up now as the night deepened. The roller disco crowd arrived in force secretaries and shopgirls in their best satin shorts and halter tops, guys in tight jeans and unbuttoned shirts, showing off gold chains, teenagers trying to look older and older folks trying to recapture their youth. They came because the stardust promised transformation. Because under these lights everyone was beautiful, everyone could fly. Near the entrance, Lysander arrived carrying 2 duffel bags and looking nervously over his shoulder. He was 22, with sun-bleached hair that fell past his shoulders and the perpetual tan of someone who lived on the beach. He wore faded Levi's and a Hawaiian shirt, and there was something honest and open about his face that made it clear why Hermia loved him. He wasn't smooth like Demetrius, wasn't polished or practiced. He was just genuine. He found Hermia waiting by the skate rental counter, already changed into her skating outfit, rainbow-striped tube socks pulled up to her knees, short shorts, and a tank top that said Foxy Lady in glittering letters. She'd been crying, her eyes were still red, but she was smiling now. "You ready for this?" Lysander asked, taking her hands in his. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," Hermia said. "Let's skate one last time before we leave. One last memory of this place." They laced up their rented skates. Lysander's were orange. Hermia's were yellow and rolled tentatively onto the floor. Neither of them were particularly skilled skaters, but they held each other up, laughing when they wobbled, spinning in clumsy circles as the disco ball cast stars across their faces. They didn't notice Helena enter the rink 10 minutes later, her eyes scanning the crowd desperately. They didn't see her spot them and freeze, her face crumpling with a mixture of love and pain and determination. And they especially didn't see Demetrius push through the door 30 seconds after Helena, his expression dark as a thundercloud, rage radiating off him like heat. Helena had told him everything, about the plan to run away, about meeting at the Stardust at midnight, about San Francisco and Lysander's aunt. She'd told him because she thought it would make him grateful, would make him see her loyalty and devotion. Instead, he'd barely acknowledged her presence, had simply said, "Thanks for the tip," and driven straight to the Stardust, leaving Helena to follow in her own car, her heart sinking with the realization that she'd betrayed her best friend for nothing. The stage was set. The lovers were converging, and in his DJ booth, Oberon queued up Sister Sledge's "We Are Family," with a smile that suggested he knew exactly what chaos was about to unfold. Puck moved through the crowd like a ghost, invisible to everyone except those he wanted to see him. He developed this skill over years of causing mischief, ability to blend into the kaleidoscope of moving bodies, to be just another skater in the endless circulation around the rink. He spotted Ricky taking a break near the snack bar, just as Oberon had predicted, ordering the signature Stardust special with extra cherry syrup. The kid was talented, Puck had to admit. He'd watched Ricky practice moves that defied physics, spinning backwards while jumping, executing splits in mid-glide, transitioning from forward to backward so smoothly it looked like the laws of motion didn't apply to him. No wonder Titania wanted to keep him close. No wonder Oberon wanted him on the exhibition team. The kid was pure gold on wheels. Ricky stood at the counter, bobbing his head to the music, completely unsuspecting. He wore a custom jersey that Titania had given him, purple satin with his name embroidered in gold and matching wristbands. His skates were professional grade, the kind that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Puck sidled up beside him, ordered a Coke, and in one smooth motion that he'd practiced 100 times, palmed the vial and let 3 drops fall into Ricky's electric blue drink, while the kid was distracted by a spectacular wipeout on the floor. The Valentine special dispersed instantly, leaving no trace, no evidence. Just potential chaos, waiting to bloom. Crazy crowd tonight, huh? Puck said conversationally. Yeah, man, Ricky replied, picking up his drink. Titania says it's always like this on summer nights. The full moon brings out the wild energy. He took a long sip through the straw, draining half the glass. You're Puck, right? Oberon's guy. That's me, Puck said, fighting to keep the grin off his face. Fast Puck, they call me. On account of I'm the fastest skater in 3 counties. I've heard stories, Ricky said, and there was admiration in his voice. Maybe you could show me some moves sometime. Maybe, Puck agreed, watching carefully for any sign that the Valentine special was taking effect. According to the chemist, it worked fast, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on the person's body chemistry. Hey, you see that girl over there? The tall blonde in the yellow dress? Ricky turned to look where Puck pointed directly at Helena, who stood near the entrance looking lost and miserable. She'd changed into skating clothes, but hadn't put on skates yet. Just stood there in her platforms, searching the crowd for Demetrius. Yeah, what about her? Ricky asked, and his pupils dilated suddenly, dramatically, like someone had flipped a switch inside his brain. His breath caught. His hand holding the drink began to tremble slightly. Whoa, who is she? Just some girl, Puck said, innocently. Why, she's... Ricky couldn't finish the sentence. He was staring at Helena like she was the sun and he was a planet, caught in her gravitational pull. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like an angel, like sunshine and starlight, and I need to talk to her. He shoved his drink at Puck and skated off with single-minded intensity, weaving through the crowd toward Helena with the grace of someone who'd been born on wheels. Puck watched him go, chuckling to himself. Mission accomplished. Oberon would be pleased. But Puck's attention was quickly drawn to another drama unfolding on the opposite side of the rink. Demetrius had found Lysander and Hermia, and the confrontation was not going well. You've got a lot of nerves showing your face here, Demetrius snarled, grabbing Lysander by the shirt and nearly causing both of them to crash to the floor. The crowd around them scattered, sensing violence brewing. Trying to steal another man's woman. You're nothing but a beach bum with delusions. Hermia's not your woman, Lysander said, his usual, easygoing demeanor replaced by steel. She's her own person, and she's made her choice. Back off, Demetrius. Her choice? Demetrius laughed harshly. Her father chose me. Her family chose me. Society chose me. You're just a distraction, a phase she's going through. Slumming it with the working class. Hermia pushed between them, her small frame vibrating with rage. Don't you dare talk to him like that. You don't own me, Demetrius. My father doesn't own me. I'm leaving with Lysander tonight, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. We'll see about that, Demetrius said, and there was something dangerous in his voice. Your father can have you declared incompetent. He can have Lysander arrested for kidnapping. You think you're so independent, but you're still living in your father's world, and he makes the rules. The music kept playing earth, wind and fire now. September creating a surreal contrast between the joyful sound and the tension crackling between the 3 of them. Other skaters continued to circle, trying to pretend they weren't watching, but everyone was watching. Drama at the Stardust was better than television. Helena finally approached, tears streaming down her face. Demetrius, please. This isn't worth it. Let them go. Just let them be happy. Demetrius spun on her, his expression cruel. Why are you even here, Helena? Nobody wants you here. You're like a lost puppy, always following me around, always underfoot. It's pathetic." The words hit Helena like physical blows. She stumbled backward, her face crumpling, and that's when Ricky reached her. "Excuse me," Ricky said, his voice breathless with wonder. "I couldn't help but notice you from across the rink, and I just had to come over and tell you that you're absolutely radiant. Like, genuinely, the most incredible person I've ever laid eyes on." Helena looked up, confusion replacing her tears. This teenager, this kid she'd never met was, staring at her with an intensity that was both flattering and deeply uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your hair," Ricky continued, moving closer, his wheels gliding smooth as silk. "It's like spun gold. And your eyes are they real?" "They can't be real. They're too blue, too perfect, like the ocean at sunrise. I'm Ricky, and I think I'm in love with you." "You're what?" Helena took a step back, nearly tripping over her own feet. "You're just a kid. You can't be. This is crazy." "Age is just a number," Ricky said with absolute sincerity. "What matters is connection, and I feel connected to you on a cosmic level. Like we've known each other in past lives. Like the universe brought us together at this exact moment for a reason." Demetrius, momentarily distracted from his confrontation with Lysander, stared at this bizarre interruption. "Who the hell is this kid?" "I'm the man who's going to marry her," Ricky declared, taking Helena's hand despite her attempts to pull away. "I don't know who you are, but you clearly don't appreciate her. I saw you make her cry. What kind of person makes an angel cry? Marry her." Demetrius laughed incredulously. "You're what, 16? 17 in 2 months, Ricky shot back. "And I've got prospects. I'm the best skater on Titania's team. I'm going to be famous. I can give her everything she deserves." Helena felt like she'd fallen into some alternate dimension. Here she was, heartbroken over Demetrius. And now this strange teenager was professing eternal love, while her best friend, former best friend, watched with equal parts confusion and concern. "Helena, do you know this person?" Hermia asked. "No, I've never seen him before in my life." Helena tried to extract her hand from Ricky's grip, but he held on like she was a life preserver and he was drowning. From his DJ booth, Oberon watched the scene unfold with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly, perhaps too perfectly. Ricky was supposed to be distracted, not creating a whole new dramatic situation. But chaos was chaos, and it served his purpose. He glanced toward Titania's corner booth, and saw her standing now, watching her protege with growing alarm. Meanwhile, near the entrance to the rink, Peter Quince and his crew of would-be filmmakers had arrived, laden with equipment. They'd come to scout the location for their film. Theodore Duke had given them permission to shoot during the solstice party in 4 days, and they needed to plan their shots, test the lighting, figure out the logistics. Nick Bottom strutted in first, wearing a polyester suit with lapels so wide they could double as airplane wings. He'd insisted on dressing up like a real Hollywood director, though he was technically only playing the lead role. Behind him came Francis Flute, a skinny kid, barely 20, who worked at his family's flower shop. Tom Snout, a plumber with permanent grease under his fingernails. Robin Starveling, a elderly tailor who squinted at everything through thick bifocals. And Snug, a massive man who worked construction and spoke so slowly that people often finished his sentences for him. "This is perfect," Bottom declared, spreading his arms wide and nearly hitting an elderly woman skating past. "Look at this place. The lights, the mirrors, the atmosphere. Our film is going to be legendary. I can feel it." "We haven't even started shooting yet," Quint said nervously, clutching his battered notebook filled with sketches and notes. "And we need to rehearse." Bottom, did you memorize your lines? Memorize? I've transcended memorization. I've become Pyramus. I am a tragic lover, doomed by fate. Bottom clutched his chest dramatically. Watch, O Thisbe, my love. Why have the gods cursed us? Why must this wall keep us apart? See, natural talent. That's not even close to the actual lines, Flute muttered. But Bottom ignored him. We should find somewhere quiet to rehearse, Quince suggested, looking around at the crowded rink. Maybe outside. There's that storage area behind the building where they keep the extra skates and equipment. Outside, in the dark. That's perfect. Bottom was already heading toward the back exit. Adds atmosphere. Real filmmakers work in challenging conditions. Coppola didn't make Apocalypse Now in a soundstage, you know. I'm pretty sure he did make parts of it in a soundstage, Snout said, but Bottom was already gone. The others trailing after him with varying degrees of enthusiasm. They pushed through the emergency exit into the warm night air. Behind the stardust, the world was quieter but no less magical. The bass from inside still thrummed through the walls, making the ground vibrate slightly. The alley was lit by a single street lamp, and the glow from the rink's neon sign, casting everything in shades of blue and pink. Stacks of old skates lined the back wall, along with boxes of replacement wheels, tools, and maintenance equipment. A rusted fire escape climbed up the side of the building, and graffiti decorated the brick walls, peace signs, band names, declarations of love that had faded with time. The alley smelled of motor oil and jasmine from a vine growing wild along a chain-link fence. All right, places everyone, Quince said, consulting his notebook by the dim light. We'll start with the opening scene. Bottom, you enter from stage left, which would be over there by the dumpster, and deliver your opening monologue. The dumpster. That's hardly dignified for a romantic lead, Bottom protested. It's rehearsal. Just pretend it's a marble column or something. Quince sighed, already regretting this entire endeavor. Flute, you're playing Thisbe, so you'll enter from stage right by the fire escape. Why do I have to play the girl? Flute win, not for the first time. I've got a beard coming in. I'll look ridiculous. You'll shave, Bottom said dismissively. Or wear a mask. That's what they did in ancient Greek theatre. This isn't ancient Greek theatre. This is supposed to be a film. Flute shot back. Gentlemen, please. Quince held up his hands. We're a team. We're creating art together. Now, Bottom, from the top. Remember, you're a tragic lover, separated from your beloved by circumstance and fate. Bottom cleared his throat dramatically, struck a pose that he clearly thought was heroic, and began, O cursed fate! Why hast thou separated me from my dearest Thisbe? I would climb mountains. I would swim oceans. I would, he paused, squinting into the darkness. What's that noise? They all fell silent. From somewhere nearby came a strange sound, half whisper, half laughter, like wind chimes made of broken glass. The air around them seemed to thicken, to shimmer slightly in the heat. Probably just cats, Snout said nervously. There's always cats in alleys. Didn't sound like cats, Starveling murmured, adjusting his bifocals. Puck appeared from the shadows so suddenly that several of them yelped. He'd been taking a smoke break, leaning against the wall in the darkness, and had been thoroughly entertained by their terrible rehearsal. You guys, making a movie? He asked, grinning. A film, Bottom corrected haughtily. A cinematic achievement. I'm the star. Nick Bottom, at your service. Nick Bottom, Puck's grin widened. That's really your name. What's wrong with my name? Nothing, nothing, nothing. It's very memorable. Puck's mind was already working, already concocting new mischief. These amateurs trying to put on a show. This pompous blowhard who thought he was Marlon Brando. The possibilities were endless. You know what would make your film really memorable? Real star power. Real transformation. What do you mean? Quince asked suspiciously. I mean, every legendary performance involves the actor becoming something different, right? Method acting and all that. Puck pulled out a small tin from his pocket, not the Valentine's special, but something else he'd been saving. Face paint, the kind used in theatre, but mixed with a little something extra from the same chemist who'd made the love potion. I could give your star here a look that'll really make him stand out. Bottom's eyes lit up. Stage makeup. Yes, I should have thought of that. The camera loves drama, loves bold choices. Bottom, I don't think. Quince started. But Bottom was already sitting on a crate, tilting his face up toward Puck like a sunflower seeking light. Make me unforgettable, Bottom commanded. Oh, you'll be unforgettable, all right, Puck muttered, opening the tin. The mixture inside shimmered with an oily rainbow sheen. He began applying it to Bottom's face, working quickly, and as the substance touched skin, something strange began to happen. Bottom's features started to shift, to elongate. His nose stretched and darkened, his ears grew and pointed, hair sprouted in odd places. Within minutes, he looked less like a human and more like something else, entirely something with a distinctly equine quality, like a man wearing a donkey's head, though it wasn't a mask. It was his actual face, transformed by whatever chemicals and herbs Puck had mixed into the makeup. There, Puck said, stepping back to admire his handiwork. Absolutely unforgettable. How do I look? Bottom asked, his voice slightly muffled by his new configuration. Like a star, Puck lied, skating away quickly before anyone could examine his work too closely. The other mechanicals stared in horror. Flute screamed. Snout stumbled backward, tripping over a box. Starveling made the sign of the cross. What? Bottom asked. What's everyone looking at? Your face. Quince gasped. Bottom, your face is you. Look like what? Like a jackass. Snout shouted, then turned and ran. The mechanicals scattered like pigeons from a gunshot, running in different directions, their artistic ambitions forgotten in the face of what appeared to be supernatural transformation. Bottom stood alone in the alley, confused and increasingly agitated. Very funny, he called after them. This is some kind of prank, isn't it? Very professional, guys. Real mature. He touched his face and felt the unfamiliar contours, the elongated features, the coarse hair. What the hell did that kid put on me? He stumbled toward a side mirror on a parked van and in the dim light caught a glimpse of his reflection. The scream that came out of him was high-pitched and terrified, echoing off the alley walls. He looked like a man with a donkey's head, not a costume, not makeup, but actual transformation. His hands flew to his face, touching the impossible reality of it. This isn't happening. This is a bad trip. I didn't take anything. I just had a couple beers. This coulant beer. He was spiraling into panic when he heard the back door of the Stardust open. Inside the rink, Titania had watched Ricky's bizarre behavior with growing concern. Her protege, her prize student, was making a complete fool of himself over some blonde girl he'd never met, declaring love like a character from a bad soap opera. She'd tried to intervene, but Ricky had brushed her off, too fixated on Helena to listen to reason. Frustrated and needing air, Titania had headed for the back exit, grabbing her purse on the way. She didn't see Oberon's signal to Puck, didn't see. Puck skate up behind her and with practiced sleight of hand slip 3 drops of the Valentine's special into the drink she carried, a vodka tonic that had been sitting on her table. She pushed through the door into the alley. took a long sip of her drink to calm her nerves, and that's when she saw him. Bottom stood frozen in the lamplight, his transformed face a mask of confusion and fear. He looked ridiculous and terrifying and somehow, impossibly, the most magnificent thing Titania had ever seen. The Valentine's special hit her system like lightning. Her pupils dilated. Her breath caught. The drink slipped from her fingers and shattered on the pavement, ice cubes scattering like diamonds. "Oh my God," she whispered. Bottom backed away. "Stay back. I don't know what's happening to me, but I'm probably contagious or something. This kid put some kind of chemical on my face, and—" "You're beautiful," Titania interrupted, moving toward him as if pulled by invisible strings. "You're the most extraordinary creature I've ever seen. So unique, so powerful, like something from a dream. Lady, are you feeling okay? Because I look like a freak show, and I need to find a hospital or a priest or—" "No, no, no." Titania reached him, her hands coming up to touch his transformed face with reverence. "You're perfect. Don't change a thing. Those eyes so deep, so soulful. And your voice, it's got this quality, this resonance." Bottom was too shocked to pull away. This stunning woman, this goddess in a white jumpsuit, was looking at him like he was Marlon Brando and Robert Redford combined. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." Titania's fingers traced the contours of his face, learning him like a sacred text. "What's your name?" "Nick. Nick Bottom. I'm a construction worker." "I was just trying to rehearse for a film and an artist," Titania breathed. "Of course you are. I can see it now, the soul of an artist trapped in this magnificent form. You must be so misunderstood, so lonely." "Well, yeah, actually, now that you mention it, come with me." Titania took his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "I'm taking you home, my home. You need to rest, to be pampered, to be appreciated for who you really are. I have a penthouse overlooking the beach. We'll open champagne, watch the sunrise, and I'll show you what it means to be truly valued. You want to take me home?" Bottom's fear was rapidly being replaced by confusion and, underneath that, a growing sense of masculine pride. So what if he looked like a donkey? This incredible woman wanted him. Maybe the transformation was some kind of blessing in disguise. "I mean, I do feel pretty exhausted. And champagne sounds nice. Anything you want," Titania promised, leading him toward the parking lot where her custom Cadillac Eldorado waited, gleaming white with gold trim, food, drink, comfort. "I'll have my people bring you anything your heart desires." Inside the rink, Oberon watched through the back door's window and smiled with satisfaction. His wife, the proud and stubborn Titania, was leading away a man with a donkey's head like he was her most prized possession. By morning she'd be so humiliated that she'd agreed to anything, including letting Ricky join his exhibition team. But the night was far from over, and the chaos he'd unleashed was only beginning to reach its crescendo. Back inside the Stardust, the situation among the four lovers had deteriorated from tense to catastrophic. The disco ball spun overhead, casting fragments of light across a scene that had drawn a crowd of spectators who pretended to skate while really just watching the drama unfold. Lysander stood protectively in front of Hermia, facing down Demetrius, who circled them like a shark. Helena stood off to the side, tears streaming down her face, while Ricky clung to her arm, reciting improvised poetry about her beauty. The Commodores played over the speaker's brick house, the funky bass line a surreal soundtrack to heartbreak. "Just walk away, Demetrius," Lysander said, his patience wearing dangerously thin. "Nobody wants you here. Hermia doesn't love you. She's made that clear 100 times. She doesn't know what she wants." Demetrius shot back. She's confused, infatuated with the idea of rebellion. Give her a few months living in poverty with you, and she'll come crawling back. I won't, Hermia shouted. I'd rather live in a cardboard box with Lysander than a mansion with you. Helena's sob was audible, even over the music. She doesn't know how lucky she is, she said to no one in particular. To be loved by someone like Demetrius. I would do anything to have him look at me the way he looks at her. Your eyes are like sapphires, Ricky said earnestly, still gripping Helena's arm. No, wait, like the California sky. No, that's not right either. Like, will you please leave me alone? Helena finally snapped, yanking her arm away. I don't know you. I don't want your poetry. I want, she gestured helplessly at Demetrius. I want what I can't have. From the DJ booth, Oberon watched the scene with growing concern. This wasn't quite going according to plan. Yes, Ricky was distracted, and yes, Titania was humiliating herself with that transformed full bottom. But the lovers were suffering in ways that made him uncomfortable, especially the blonde girl Helena, who looked genuinely devastated. He signaled to Puck, who skated over with his characteristic grin slightly dimmed. Even Puck could sense that maybe they'd pushed the mischief too far. Boss, the blonde girl's crying pretty hard, Puck observed. You think maybe we should fix it, Oberon said firmly. This has gotten out of hand. The dark-haired guy Demetrius, he's supposed to love the blonde one, right? That's how it should be, according to the gossip I've been hearing. Yeah, they used to date. Puck pulled out the Valentine special vial. You want me to dose him? Make him fall back in love with her? Yes, do it now, before someone actually gets hurt. Oberon's expression was troubled. He'd wanted to teach Titania a lesson, to shake things up a bit, but he hadn't meant to cause real pain. There was a difference between mischief and cruelty, and he was realizing he might have crossed that line. Puck nodded and skated down to the floor, weaving through the crowd with his usual grace. He approached the confrontation just as Demetrius shoved Lysander, causing both of them to stumble on their skates. Hey, break it up, Puck said, skating between them. No fighting in the stardust. You want to throw down? Take it outside. He offered Demetrius a flask from his pocket one he defilled with water and 3 drops of the Valentine special. Here, have a drink, cool off. On the house, Demetrius was too angry to be suspicious. He grabbed the flask and took a long drink, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. This doesn't concern you, kid. Fair enough, Puck said, backing away. But seriously, management says take it outside if you're gonna. He didn't finish the sentence because Demetrius's eyes had suddenly locked onto Helena. The change was instantaneous and dramatic. His aggressive posture melted, his face softened. His entire body language shifted from confrontational to adoring. Helena, he said, his voice filled with wonder. Is that you? Helena looked up, confused and wary. What? I've been such a fool. Demetrius skated toward her, his movements suddenly gentle. Such an idiot. Chasing after someone who doesn't want me when you're beautiful, loyal, perfect. You have been right here all along. How could I have been so blind? Helena's eyes narrowed. Is this a joke? Because if you're making fun of me, Demetrius, I swear I'm not making fun of you. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in months. He took her hands in his. You're everything. You're sunlight and starlight and everything in between. How did I not see it? How did I waste so much time? He's mocking her, Hermia said angrily. Demetrius, that's low, even for you. I'm not mocking anyone. Demetrius never took his eyes off Helena. I'm telling the truth. Helena, I was wrong about everything. Forget Hermia. Forget all of it. You're the one I want. The one I should have wanted all along. Helena stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. For months, she'd dreamed of hearing these words, but now that they were being spoken, they felt wrong. Too sudden. Too dramatic. Like something from a bad movie. You don't mean this, she whispered. I mean every word, Demetrius insisted, his eyes shining with an intensity that bordered on frightening. Helena, I've been a fool. A complete and total fool. But I'm awake now. I see you. Really see you. And you're magnificent. This is insane, Hermia said, looking between Helena and Demetrius with growing confusion. 10 minutes ago you were ready to drag me home by force, and now you're what? In love with Helena? I was confused, Demetrius said, finally tearing his gaze away from Helena to look at Hermia. You're a nice girl, Hermia, but you're not for me. You never were. I was pursuing you because our parents pushed us together, because it made business sense. But that's not love. This, he gestured to Helena. This is love. And she's mine, Ricky interjected, pushing forward to stand between Demetrius and Helena. I saw her first. I declared my intentions. You can't just swoop in and kid. You're like 12, Demetrius said dismissively. I'm almost 17, Ricky protested, and age doesn't matter when it comes to true love. Helena, tell him you feel the connection between us. Helena looked from Ricky to Demetrius, both of them staring at her with desperate devotion, and something inside her snapped. Stop it. Both of you, just stop. Her voice rose to a shout that cut through the music. This is some kind of sick joke, isn't it? You're all making fun of me. Poor Helena, so desperate for love that she believe anything. Well, I'm not that pathetic. Nobody's making fun of you, Demetrius said earnestly. I love you. I genuinely, truly love you. And I love you more, Ricky declared. I'd die for you. I'd throw myself off the Santa Monica Pier if you asked me to. Nobody's throwing themselves off anything, Lysander said, trying to be the voice of reason though he was thoroughly confused himself. Look, maybe we should all just take a breath and stay out of this, surf bum, Demetrius snapped. This doesn't involve you. It involves me when my girlfriend's best friend is being tormented. Lysander shot back. I'm not tormenting her. I'm professing my love. So am I, Ricky added. Helena covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. When she looked up, her eyes blazed with anger and hurt. You know what the worst part is? You, Hermia, my best friend. You put them up to this, didn't you? You have everything looks, money, to men who actually love you. And it's not enough. You have to humiliate me, too. What? Hermia's face registered complete shock. Helena, I would never. Don't lie to me. Helena's voice cracked. You always had to be the center of attention. The pretty one. The popular one. And now you reusing these two to mock me because I had the audacity to care about someone you did and want. Helena, that's crazy talk, Hermia said, reaching for her friend. I don't know what's going on here, but I would never hurt you. You're my sister. I'm nothing to you. Helena jerked away. I'm the sidekick, the supporting character in the Hermia show. Well, I'm done with all of you. She ran toward the exit, platform shoes clacking against the floor. Both Demetrius and Ricky immediately skated after her, calling her name, declaring their devotion. Helena pushed through the door into the parking lot, and they followed like devoted satellites. Hermia stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. I don't understand what just happened. Lysander put his arm around her. I don't either, but something's wrong here. Really wrong. Demetrius doesn't just flip like that. And that kid, we need to find Helena, Hermia said firmly, wiping her eyes. We need to fix this somehow. She's hurt and confused, and oh God, what if she does something stupid? They hurried after the others, leaving the rink nearly empty except for a few dedicated skaters and Oberon in his DJ booth, watching the chaos spill into the parking lot through the window. Puck skated up beside him, looking uncharacteristically worried. "Boss, I think I might have made things worse." "You think?" Oberon said dryly. He queued up another record Sheik's Good Times, but his heart wasn't in it. "This has gotten completely out of hand. We need to fix it. How? I don't know yet." Oberon drummed his fingers on the turntable. "But come sunrise, we're reversing everything. The kid gets back to normal. The lovers get sorted out properly. And my wife." He paused, realizing he hadn't seen Titania in a while. "Where is Titania?" "Oh yeah, about that." Puck winced. "Last I saw, she was driving off with the donkey guy, taking him to her penthouse." "Her penthouse? Our penthouse?" Oberon felt a surge of alarm. "Puck, what exactly did you do to that man?" "Just a little transformation. Temporary, probably. The chemist said it would wear off by morning, same as the love potion. Probably, 90% sure." Oberon closed his eyes and counted to 10. When he opened them, Puck was skating backward slowly, ready to flee if necessary. In the parking lot behind the Stardust, beneath a full moon that hung fat and yellow over Venice Beach, the four lovers and young Ricky formed a circle of confusion and accusation. Palm trees swayed overhead, their fronds rustling in the warm ocean breeze. Cars gleamed under the street lights, Camaros and Corvettes. VW vans covered in peace sign stickers. A few muscle cars with their windows down, leaking Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd into the night air. Helena backed against a chain-link fence, her eyes wild. "Stay away from me, all of you." "Helena, please," Demetrius pleaded, his hands raised in supplication. "Just listen to me for 1 minute. I know I hurt you. I know I was blind and stupid, but I'm different now. I see everything clearly. I saw her first." Ricky insisted, trying to push past Demetrius. "My love is pure, untainted by past mistakes." "You're a child." Demetrius shoved him backward. "You don't even know what love is." "I know it better than you." Ricky shoved back, surprisingly strong for his size. "You're just some rich guy who thinks he can buy anything he wants." Hermia grabbed Lysander's arm. "Do something. They're going to hurt each other." But before Lysander could intervene, Helena let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. For months have been invisible. And now suddenly I have 2 men fighting over me. This has to be some kind of cosmic joke. Maybe I died. Maybe I'm dead and this is hell." "You're not dead," Hermia said, moving toward her friend carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. "Helena, something weird is happening tonight. Something I can't explain. But you have to know I would never, ever hurt you on purpose. You're my best friend. My sister, your sister." Helena's laugh was bitter. "Sisters don't betray each other. I told you about Demetrius, about how much I loved him, and you, I never wanted him." Hermia's voice rose in frustration. "I never asked for his attention. You think I wanted my father forcing me into marriage? You think I wanted to run away from my whole life? Poor little rich girl," Helena spat. "Such terrible problems, having men fall at your feet. That's not fair. Fair. You want to talk about fair?" Helena's composure finally shattered completely. "You have everything, Hermia, everything, and I have nothing. I'm too tall, too plain, too desperate. And the one person I loved looked right through me to see you. Then take him, Hermia shouted back. Take Demetrius. I don't want him. I never wanted him. You can have him with my blessing. I don't want your blessing, Helena screamed. I don't want your charity. I want. She slid down the fence until she was sitting on the pavement, her head in her hands. I want to go home. I want this night to be over. The fight seemed to drain out of everyone at once. Demetrius sat down beside Helena, not touching her, just being present. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. For being blind. For hurting you. You deserved so much better. Reki sat on her other side, equally subdued. You really are beautiful, though, he said softly. I know I'm just a kid, and this probably seems crazy, but I meant every word. You shine like a disco ball. All facets and light. Despite everything, Helena let out a wet laugh. That might be the worst and best compliment I've ever gotten. Lysander and Hermia sat on the curb across from them, hands linked, watching the scene with exhaustion. The adrenaline had faded, leaving everyone wrung out and confused. What time is it? Hermia asked. Lysander checked his watch. Almost 3 in the morning. We've been here for hours. We were supposed to leave for San Francisco, Hermia said softly. We were supposed to be driving north right now, starting our new life. Do you still want to? Lysander asked. Hermia looked at Helena, at her best friend, broken and hurting on the pavement, and felt her certainty waver. I don't know anymore. I don't know anything anymore. Inside the Stardust, Oberon had made his decision. He descended from the DJ booth, leaving the music on autopilot, and found Puck doing tricks on the now nearly empty rink floor, spinning and jumping to burn off nervous energy. All right, Oberon said. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fix this mess before sunrise. First, we find the lovers. You're going to put them all to sleep. I don't care how. Use whatever herbs or techniques you need, and then we're going to sort this out properly. The dark-haired girl with the blonde guy. The blonde girl with the dark-haired guy. That's how it's supposed to be. What about the kid? Ricky, he gets the antidote. There must be an antidote. Oberon fixed Puck with a stern look. Tell me there's an antidote. The chemist said time is the antidote. By sunrise, everything wears off naturally. Then we keep them asleep until sunrise. Oberon glanced toward the window. And we pray this all works out. What about Titania and the donkey man? Oberon's jaw tightened. I'll handle my wife. Just fix the lovers. Can you do that? Puck saluted. I'm on it, boss. Puck found the lovers exactly where they'd collapsed in the parking lot, exhausted by emotion and confusion. He worked quickly, pulling from his seemingly endless supply of substances, this time a mild sedative mixed into cold bottles of Coca-Cola that he offered to each of them. Management says you all gotta clear out or crash properly. Here, drink up. On the house. They were too tired to question free soda. Within minutes, all 4 of them, plus young Ricky, had slumped into deep sleep, arranged on the pavement like fallen dominoes. Puck worked carefully, dragging and positioning them, Hermia's head resting near Lysander's shoulder. Helena positioned so she'd wake looking directly at Demetrius. He removed the unconscious Ricky entirely, loading the kid into a shopping cart and wheeling him back inside the Stardust, depositing him in Titania's usual corner booth. There, Puck said, surveying his work. By sunrise, the Valentine special wears off. Everyone wakes up, and they'll think it was all some crazy dream. Perfect. He skated back inside, just as the first hints of pink touched the eastern horizon. At the penthouse overlooking Venice Beach, Titania's home was a monument to 1970s excess white, shag carpeting, a sunken living room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, and furniture in chrome and leather. Lava lamps bubbled in corners. A massive stereo system took up an entire wall, currently playing Marvin Gaye at low volume. Titania had spent the past several hours completely devoted to Nick Bottom, feeding him grapes and cheese, pouring him champagne, massaging his shoulders while he reclined on her enormous sectional sofa. She'd hung on his every word as he talked about construction work, about his dreams of becoming a filmmaker, about his philosophies on art and life that were, objectively speaking, completely banal and obvious. But through the lens of the Valentine's special, everything he said sounded profound. "You're so deep," Titania murmured, running her fingers through the coarse hair of his transformed head, "so misunderstood by the world. But I see you. I see your genius." Bottom had stopped questioning his good fortune hours ago. Sure, he looked like a freak, but this goddess loved him for it. Maybe this was just how the world worked. Maybe he'd been living wrong all along, trying to be normal when he should have been embracing his inner donkey-headed self. The champagne had helped him reach this conclusion. "You know what your problem is," he said, his words slightly slurred. "You're too refined for this world. You need someone real. Someone who works with his hands. Someone like me." "Yes," Titania breathed. "Exactly. You understand me." The sunrise crept across the sky, golden light spilling through the windows. As the first rays touched Titania's face, she blinked, then blinked again. Her eyes focused on Bottom, really focused, saw him for what he actually was. A man with a donkey-s head spouting nonsense on her $3,000 Italian leather sofa. She screamed and fell backward off the couch, scrambling away. What are you? How did you get in my house?" Bottom sat up groggily. "What, baby? It's me. Nick. You brought me here, remember? You said I was magnificent." "Magnificent?" Titania stared in horror. You're, my God, what did I do?" The door to the penthouse burst open and Oberon strode in, Puck trailing behind him. Oberon's expression was carefully neutral, though his eyes glittered with satisfaction at seeing his wife's mortification. "Having a good morning, my dear?" he asked. Titania looked from the donkey-headed man to her husband to Puck, and understanding dawned. "You did this. You drugged me, or what did you do?" "Taught you a lesson about pride," Oberon said simply. "You've been treating our partnership like a competition instead of a collaboration, refusing to work with me, keeping Ricky away from the exhibition team out of spite. So I thought you might benefit from a little perspective." "Perspective," Titania's voice rose. "You made me fall in love with Awitha." She gestured helplessly at Bottom. "Hey, I'm sitting right here," Bottom protested. "And I'd like some answers too. What the hell is wrong with my face?" Puck pulled out a bottle of makeup remover. "Here, man. Use this. It'll come right off." Probably, as Bottom stumbled toward the bathroom, Titania rounded on her husband. "This is low, even for you, Oberon, is it?" Oberon moved closer, his voice softening. "Is it lower than shutting me out? Than turning our kingdom into two separate camps? We used to be partners, Titania. We built the Stardust together. When did we become enemies?" Titania's anger deflated slightly, replaced by something more vulnerable. "When you stopped seeing me as an equal and started seeing me as an obstacle. When everything became about winning instead of creating something beautiful together." "I never stopped seeing you as an equal," Oberon said quietly. "I saw you building your own team, your own following, and I thought you didn't need me anymore. That the Stardust wasn't enough. That I wasn't enough. The words hung between them, raw and honest, in the morning light. From the bathroom came the sounds of Bottom scrubbing frantically at his face and swearing colourfully. "You're an idiot," Titania said, but her voice had lost its edge. "I was building my team because you were building yours. I thought you didn't want me involved. The exhibition team, the special events, you stopped asking for my input. Because you stopped offering it," Oberon countered. "You'd just look at me with those cold eyes and say, 'Do whatever you want,' because I thought that's what you wanted." They stared at each other, and then, impossibly, Titania laughed. It started as a chuckle and grew into full-bodied laughter that shook her shoulders. "We're both idiots. We've been fighting over nothing. Over pride and assumptions and stubbornness." Oberon felt the corner of his mouth twitch. "I made you fall in love with a man with a donkey's head. I fed him grapes," Titania admitted, her laughter mixing with tears now. "I recited poetry. Oh God, I told him he had beautiful eyes." "Did he?" Oberon asked, and despite everything, despite the anger and hurt and weeks of Cold War, he was smiling. "The most soulful," Titania said, and then they were both laughing, the sound filling the penthouse, releasing months of tension. Bottom emerged from the bathroom, his face scrubbed clean and completely human again. "Okay, I don't know what kind of drugs you people are into, but I'm out. I'm going home. I'm never leaving my apartment again. And if anyone asks, this never happened." "Wait," Titania said, composing herself. She pulled a $100 bill from her purse and handed it to him. "For your trouble and your discretion." Bottom looked at the money, at the two of them standing together like partners again, at Puck, who grinned and shrugged. "You people are crazy. But thanks for the champagne." He pocketed the money and fled. After he left, Oberon held out his hand to Titania. "Partners again." She looked at his hand for a long moment, then took it. "Partners, but we need rules, real communication, and you give me co-leadership of the exhibition team. Deal. And you stop hoarding all the best skaters on your personal crew. Deal." Titania squeezed his hand. "And Ricky, we share him. He trains with both of us. He performs with the team, but he's still yours to mentor. I can live with that." Titania moved closer, studying her husband's face. "When did we forget how to talk to each other? Somewhere between the stress and the success and the daily grind," Oberon said. "But we remember now. That's what matters." They kissed, tentatively at first, then deeper, reconnecting after months of distance. When they pulled apart, the sunrise was painting the ocean in shades of gold and amber. "We should get back to the Stardust," Titania said. "Clean up from last night." "Actually," Puck interjected, "we should probably check on the lovers I left sleeping in the parking lot." "You what?" Titania asked. "Long story," Oberon said. "I'll explain on the way." In the parking lot behind the Stardust, the four lovers were beginning to stir as the sun rose higher. Helena opened her eyes first, disoriented and groggy. She was lying on pavement, her neck stiff, her mouth tasting like chemicals and regret. Memories of the night before came flooding back, the accusations, the fighting, Demetrius declaring his love. That strange teenager following her around. She sat up carefully and found Demetrius lying a few feet away, just starting to wake. Their eyes met, and Helena braced herself for mockery or awkwardness. But Demetrius's expression was soft, confused, almost wondering. "Helena," he said groggily, where are we?" "The Stardust parking lot. We all kind of passed out, I think." She waited for the cruelty, the dismissal, the return to the way things had been. But Demetrius sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. "I had the weirdest dreams. Was he focused on her again, and something in his expression shifted. Helena, I need to apologize. For everything. For the past 6 months. I've been a complete asshole. You have, she agreed, cautiously. I got caught up in something that wasn't real. Chasing Hermia, because I don't even know why. Because her father approved. Because it seemed like what I was supposed to do. He shook his head. But last night, something happened. Maybe it was hitting rock bottom. Maybe it was finally seeing clearly. But Demetrius took a breath. I remembered us. Before all this. Before all this. Before I lost my mind. We were good together, Helena. Really good. And I threw it away for nothing. Helena felt tears prick her eyes. But these were different from the bitter tears of the night before. You really hurt me, Demetrius. I know. And I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But maybe we could start over. Take it slow. Let me prove I'm not that guy anymore. Nearby, Hermia and Lysander were also waking up, untangling themselves from each other. They sat close, Lysander's arm around Hermia's shoulders, both of them looking rumpled and confused, but undeniably together. We didn't leave, Hermia said, checking her watch. It's almost 6. We were supposed to be in San Francisco by now. We can still go, Lysander offered, if that's what you want. Hermia looked at Helena, at Demetrius, at the stardust rising behind them like a temple to all the magic and madness of the night before. I don't know what I want anymore. Last night was so crazy. Did all of that really happen? I think so, Helena said uncertainly. I remember fighting and crying. And that kid, she looked around. Where is that teenager who kept professing his love? Probably inside, Demetrius said. The whole thing felt like a fever dream. A limousine pulled into the parking lot gleaming white, completely out of place in the morning light. Theodore Duke emerged, followed by Paulina and Eugene. They looked like they'd been up all night, their faces drawn with worry. Hermia, Eugene rushed toward his daughter. Thank God. When you didn't come home, I thought he pulled her into a fierce hug. Theodore approached more slowly, his expression serious. We've been looking everywhere for you kids. Helena, your mother called us at midnight, frantic. We've been calling hospitals, police stations. I'm sorry, Daddy, Hermia said, her voice muffled against her father's shoulder. We needed. I know what you needed, Eugene said, pulling back to look at her. You needed me to listen. Really listen. Not just tell you what to do. He looked at Lysander, and his expression was complicated, not warm, but not hostile either. This is the boy. Man, Lysander corrected quietly, standing. I'm Lysander, sir. Eugene sized him up. You love my daughter. More than anything in the world, and you can support her. Give her a decent life. I work hard. I'm honest. I'll do whatever it takes to make her happy. Eugene was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to Theodore. You remember being young, being told who to love, who to be? Theodore glanced at Paulina, who raised an eyebrow. I remember, he said carefully. Maybe Eugene took a deep breath. Maybe we've been pushing too hard, making decisions that aren't ours to make. Eugene, are you saying Hermia's voice was hopeful, afraid to believe? I'm saying the engagement to Demetrius is off, officially. And I'm saying I'd like to get to know this Lysander better before I make any judgments. He fixed Lysander with a stern look. You'll come to dinner, Sunday, 7 o'clock. We'll talk. If you're serious about my daughter, you'll prove it through action, not just words. I'll be there, Lysander promised. Demetrius, still sitting on the pavement with Helena, cleared his throat. Mr. Duke, for what it's worth, I never wanted to marry someone who didn't love me back. I got caught up in expectations and pride. But Hermia deserves to choose her own path. And so does Helena. Eugene looked at his daughter's best friend, seeing perhaps for the first time how the situation had affected everyone. I'm sorry, Helena, for any part I played in your hurt. Helena nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Paulina stepped forward, her roller derby toughness mixed with unexpected gentleness. Why don't we all get some breakfast? There's a diner down the beach that makes excellent pancakes. We can talk like adults. Figure things out. As the group began to move toward their cars, Oberon and Titania emerged from the stardust, skating side by side in perfect synchronization. The king and queen reunited. They watched the lovers reconciling, the parents compromising, the new day beginning. Think they'll be okay? Titania asked. I think they'll figure it out, Oberon said. Love's a complicated dance. But they're learning the steps. Inside the stardust. Ricky woke up in the corner booth, with no memory of the past several hours, and a profound headache. Puck skated by, and handed him a Coke.